Hi there, it's Kevin with the Rogue Market here with an update to the outlook of the market heading into mid-February. Usually do these over my main channel, the Rogue Deck Builder for the Market Monday, but I thought I'd give an update to this particular topic because it seems like we are finally leaving the bear market and heading into a bullish market into tax return season. And there's a few indicators with that. The first big one is going to be like standard mythics. They're always the first cards that start to go up in value, and then we're going to see commander staples go up in value, and then we'll see the normal things like modern and now pioneer staples start to increase in value. So we've seen a slide since I would say about June of 2019. That was where we hit where Magic was worth the most historically, and then we went into a period of really terrible gains. In fact, we probably lost all the value that the bull market hit in early 2019 in late 2019, June all the way until about January 2020. About now, we've been in this slump on every metric you can think of, from reserve list to commander staples to even a lot of sealed product. The only thing that was the standout was Pioneer. Now, Pioneer did have an effect on the rest of the market as people liquidated their inventory of their other stuff to grab Pioneer stock or to build Pioneer decks. But haven't when that happened with modern, and that happened even with like the popper craze or the commander craze, you didn't see that effect as much in the market as a whole. In fact, when you took the value of Magic the Gathering cards, if you took all the value of every card ever printed, and you have to keep in mind that new cards, especially foils and all the other stuff that came out in late 2019, when you take into factor in all of Magic Gathering cards, owning one of every card, the value actually dropped even with new additions in late 2019 compared to early 2019. So that was a terrible sign for Magic the Gathering. We entered into a stagnation period where there wasn't new blood. It was just we were actually dwindling in player counts. You saw that in the GP attendance. You also saw that in F&M attendance. You saw that in the number of local game stores that closed between summer of 2019 to Christmas of 2019, and all of those were spelling disaster for Magic the Gathering. We saw a massive price slump as a result in commander staples, which we hadn't ever seen. Commander staples were one of those metrics that always continued to go up, and it was very, very scary for Magic the Gathering. However, it looks like the slump is ending here, and you really start to see this with standard first, of course, the hot thing right now. There's a players or a mythic championship that people are gearing up for, so they need to test cards. And we're finally starting to see decks that have been popular now for about a month, and we had no change in prices. Now we're starting to see the change in prices. So you can see that Euro Titan of Nature's Wrath has shot up $13 since the start of the week. Robber the Rich has shot up like $4 since the start of the week. And like even cards like Breeding Pool that see a ton of play are starting to go back up. Chromatic Lantern is a nice one that is great to look at because it's a commander staple. This also starting to go up. So with these factoring in, and now we can actually look at modern stabilized pretty well. It's not like Scalding Tarn has been a card in Tarmogoyf. These have been cards that have just been going down. Snapcaster Mage. We even has commander staple like Exquisite Blood that have been going down for a while, that are now stabilized off and going back up. So that's all good news for Magic the Gathering. I'm not going to be caught holding value this year. That is going to go down summer till Christmas. So I'm gearing up to sell everything and then use that capital back in the summer when everything is slumped, and then buy it all back or just invest in, potentially good targets at that point. So anyway, that is my overall outlook for the market. It's quite exciting that we're starting to see gains again, which is a huge relief because we are entering into just A, supply hell, and B, reprint hell. So what I mean by that is the supply of these sets are getting larger and larger and larger. I talked to multiple distributors about the Theros Collector's Edition versus Throne Collector's Edition, and they are thinking that the supply is 2 to 3 times greater than the Throne. So I can still get Theros Collector's Edition for a bargain price. I can buy them for about $175 to $180, depending on a distributor. That is my cost. and there seems to be no end in sight for Theros Collector's Edition. So shameful self-promotion here. If you are a patron and you are at a tier that's high enough, I can get you those collector's editions for dirt cheap. There are also booster boxes that I can get for dirt cheap, one of which is the kind of the topic of this video, which is the Throne of elDRAINe and how well will Throne of elDRAINe age over time. Currently, I can get Throne of elDRAINe boxes for $77. So if you're a patron, definitely check out your tier rewards and go ahead and buy those Throne boxes for $77, because that, in my opinion, is a screaming deal. So let's get to the topic at hand for this particular video, which is Throne of elDRAINe the best set ever printed as far as impact? So you can go back, of course, and look at things like Urza Saga. Okay, let's not think about that. We won't say ever printed, but it's Throne of elDRAINe in recent memory the most impactful set from like at least Pioneer era. And I would make the argument that yes, it is. So let's just go down this here. Let's just sort by rarity. And I'm going to show you that this set is just chocked full of value, and I can only see this set going up and up and up. So let's go on to the worst rare. So if you go down here, it says Opportunistic Dragon is the worst rare. Let's zoom in a little bit so you can kind of see these prices. Opportunistic Dragon, according to the price on TCG Market Price, is the worst rare. And if you actually compare it to other sets, Opportunistic Dragon actually has the opportunity to see play. Like, I don't think it's a terrible commander card. It's a dragon, so usually having either angel or dragon attached to the type is going to mean that people are going to buy it regardless. And I actually think that this card has potential of seeing standard play in the right shell if there was like a human, a human you needed to take care of, or an artifact you needed to take care of, because it basically feels like, what's there's a spear, the Dungeon Guys. This feels like a Dungeon Guys type card. You get rid of the threat of your opponent, and you can actually, in a sacrifice-based deck, you can actually sacrifice it. It doesn't say you can't do anything with the human or the artifact. And you get a 4/3 flying creature, and also get some value off of it. This is the worst card, according to the market price, in Throne of elDRAINe. If we go up here, we have Sundering Stroke, which is another card that hasn't seen much play. This one actually is kind of hard, but I could actually see this card seeing play for 7 mana to do 14 damage to, actually more. So if 7 red mana was spent to cast this center, deal 7 damage to each of those permanent center players. You can divide it as you choose, 7, but if you spent 7, you can do 7 to everything. So it's kind of a card that if we had like a big red, like a really big red deck, that I could see seeing play in the format. Unfortunately, there are like, the difference between generating 7 mana and 14 mana is very, very slim in this format with decks like Wilderness Reclamation or these different like ramps. So that's what I think was keeping Sundering Stroke down, is there's better ways just to really pump in a lot of damage to stuff. But this is a very interesting card because it can just do it to any targets. I would assume that if we ever do see like a Teamer deck, this would be an interesting card for like Teamer Adventures to throw in the sideboard. But anyway, we won't talk about that. I'm just trying to make the comparison that this isn't what I would even consider a bulk rare. Neither one of these I would really throw in my bulk bin of rares that have no chance of seeing standard play, that are just draft trash. If we go up, Happily Ever After actually has seen a deck in the past. It is not that competitive, but it is a card that is playable. 5 life, draw a card, and then it's a win the game condition. And people have had mild success with Happily Ever After. Now it really, really starts to get crazy good here. Escape the Wilds. This is a 4 of in a tier 1 deck right now. The Teamer Adventures deck is starting to pick up steam because it has a very good matchup versus UI Control and Mono Red. And so Escape the Wilds is a 4 of in a competitive deck. Lockmere Serpent, not so much, but again, it's one of those cards that possibly has the potential of seeing like a Dimir finisher. Unfortunately, there's Dimir isn't seeing play right now. It's more of UI Control with Dream Trawler, but a 7/7 for 6 mana that has the ability to recur and the ability to be unblockable and actually draw cards is not that bad of a card that I could see potential of this card seeing play. So it's not one of those cards, again, I'd separate with bulk. Oathsworn Knight currently does not see play, but has seen play in Rakdos Knights in the past because it's a 4/4 for 3 mana. It's a great target for Embercleave. It's a very aggressive card on curve. A lot of people have preferred this over the even the Demon, even though the Demon is 4 mana or 3 mana if you get the reduction, because this of A, the tribe aspect of the Oathsworn Giant, and B, that it is just more consistent that you get on turn 3 as a 4/4 beater, and that's all you really need to have. So this is a card that has seen play. Stolen by the Fae currently does see play in sideboards for various decks in Standard and Pioneer. Witch's Vengeance currently does see sideboard play in Standard and Pioneer. Ironcrag Feet actually does have a legacy deck built. It's going in Belcher at the moment, and this is definitely a card. It's an Anthem effect that you just you cast it as your last spell with Ironcrag Feet. You add additional 3 mana, and that often is the amount of mana that you need to go off for whatever deck you're running. So again, this is another card that does see play. We have Folio of Fancies. This is the first one that really doesn't see play in any sort of competitive format, but is a very, very popular card in Commander. We go to Piper the Swarm, which again is a very, very popular card in Commander because of the Rat Tribal, and it just had a printing just had to demand because the Year of the Rat deck, people are going to want this in the Rat deck. Giant Killer sees play, sees a lot of play. Mono White is playing whopping 4 of because it's a great Embercleave killer. This is Celestian Adventures, Mono White. There are plenty of decks that actually do use Giant Killer. We go over to an Acclaimed Contender. This is another card that sees play in the either Mardu or just the Red-White Knights, which is... Again, if Mono Red didn't exist, I think Knights have definitely the potential post-rotation because they have everything. The deck is fully complete. There are plenty of Knights. You don't need anything from rotating decks at the moment. You have plenty of Knights just from Throne of elDRAINe. You still have Embercleave. You still have all the cards that synergize. Acclaimed Contender has seen play as a 4 of in a competitive deck. Feasting Troll King, another card that has seen play. In the past, it is suffering a little bit right now from lack of food decks around, but it, again, is not what I would consider bulk, and who knows, this could see potential in the Devotion alone. Adding 4 Devotion is pretty neat for this card with recursion ability. Midnight Clock currently does see play there have been some Grixis control decks that have ran it, some Esper control decks that have ran it, because it is a way to, and also the mono blue mill that do run the Midnight Clock. So this is another card that is very popular in Commander, and I would not consider this like a bulk rare. Clackbridge Troll, another casual favorite card that people have started to run with, like Hushbringer and other ones where it just doesn't create those goat tokens, and then you get an 8/8 Trampler for 5 mana. It's also a finisher I've seen in a lot of these Rakdos decks, because there are ways that you can then deal with those 0/1 goat tokens no problem, and actually get some value out of them for them dying or entering the battlefield. The Stormfist Crusader sees a ton of play. This is where it really starts to get good. So Stormfist Crusader is crazy good at 50 cents because this sees play in multiple Rakdos aggro decks, Rakdos Knights decks, and a lot of times it is in the Rakdos Sacrifice deck. We have Sorcerer's Spyglass. Has seen a reprint, but has seen a lot of sideboard play in the various format. Worthy Knight, again, the Knight decks. Ironcrag Pyromancer did see play in the Blue-Red Phoenix variants, or the Blue-Red Drake variants, and I think is a great card. This is just a meta. This is just not underperforming right now on the meta because it's just too slow to really impact against like red, and doesn't really do that much versus control because it's too easy to remove. Blackline's Paragon, tons of play in the Knights and the Rakdos aggro shells. Linden Steadfast Clean, tons of play in the mono white aggro or mono white life gain. Doom Foretold has an entire deck built around it. Wildborn Preserver has an entire UG Flash deck that runs it. Return of the Wild Speaker, one of the sleeper cards for Commander. Commander green decks are picking this up. It's like 15% of all green decks in Commander are running it. Vanquish Gargoyle, I've seen this play as a 4 of. I've seen the blue-white control decks actually start to pick these up, or like the Esper Dance decks actually starting to pick these up as just a great 5/4 blocker at first, and then can actually be turned into a very aggressive card later on. Yorvo, Lord of Garenbrig, sees a lot of Pioneer play in the Stompy decks. Dance and Mance has an entire deck built around it. Wishgah Talisman is a very popular commander card, as well as it has seen play in various, like I've seen it in Mono Black Devotion and also like the Esper Dance deck. Wicked Wolf is a extremely potent card in the food deck. Fave Wishes, one of the best cards ever printed. You should just try this card. This card is nuts, and I think that more decks are going to adopt it. Recently, I've adopted it in my Sultai Ramp deck, and it sees a lot of play. Charming Prince sees a ton of play in various formats with the as far as like even modern humans have picked up Charming Prince. Fabro Elders from the Brawl decks, so we're not going to talk too much about it, but it's a very popular commander card. Gadwick sees a lot of play. This at one point in UI Control saw 4 of. Lately, UI Control really hasn't cared about it, but there are plenty of decks that still run it. Lovestruck Beast is probably one of the most bargain cards ever because of how much play this card is seeing currently in Standard and in Pioneer. Hushbringer, again, sees a ton of sideboard plays, even sees main play by shutting down both death effects and enter the battlefield effects. The Castle Embrith sees a 4 of play right now, currently in mono red. Same thing with Fervent Champion. Fires of Invention has an entire deck built around it. Mirror Maid is a very, very popular card in Commander, and now has been adopted in UI Control. Emery is broken in older formats like Modern and Pioneer, and it has a lot of Commander potential and has a lot of even Standard potential if we enter into an artifact deck or format. Castle Garenbriggs is one of my best sellers lately at my store. Mono Green Stompion in Pioneer or Mono Green Ramp in Pioneer are still budget brews. Stoinkolo Serpent is really taking over Pioneer in the Insult artifact, and even like Affinity type shells are liking this card just because of how versatile it is, and that protection from multicolored is very relevant with Abrupt Decay being one of the premier removal spells and Kolaghan's Command too in the Pioneer format. Ayara has an entire deck built around it, Mono Black Devotion and Mono Black Sacrifice. Castle Vantris is seeing play in basically any deck that can run it in blue. Bonecrusher Giant, another bargain one that is, I believe, the most played card right now in Standard. And then we have Torbran, Thane of the Redfell. Mono Red is picking it up. And it really gets good with here with like the Castles, Ardent Vale and Loch Twain, Gilded Goose, Murderous Rider, Once Upon a Time even being banned, is still, I expected to be banned in Modern, so I actually expect this card to go down in value, but always will be an evergreen card in Commander because of how good it is of fixing. And then we have Fabled Passage, of course, which I expect to continue to go up because of how many decks run this in basically every format. A lot of the like Dimir Inverter decks are running this just to fill up your graveyard for Dig Through Time, and Treasure Cruise type decks or any sort of Delve based deck. This is going to be a very popular card from now until the end of time in Magic the Gathering. So my point being is Throne of elDRAINe is definitely not throwing your money down the drain. This is a incredibly powerful set. I remember when Throne of elDRAINe was spoiled, that people were like, this set sucks. And now we see just how crazy good the power level is. We hadn't even talked about Mythics. Mythics also, the power level is insane. We see Brazen Borrowers continue to gain in value, and Embercleave, because these cards are busted in how good they are. Same thing with the Great Henge. These Mythics end up being like very, very impactful Mythics in not just Standard, but in Modern and in Pioneer. Of course, Oko is banned, but the price, I think, will stabilize off, and people are going to kind of treat this as Jace the Mind Sculptor, so casual players are going to love this, and then people are going to still throw in Commander. I don't think it's going to be banned in Commander. Questing Beast is just really suffering from a meta that just doesn't appreciate it, but it still sees a lot of play currently in like Pioneer. Royal Science just needs a meta too to shine, but this is another card that sees a lot of play in Legacy Modern. Rankle, same thing, sees a lot of play in Pioneer. It's just really suffering from a meta in Standard that doesn't like it. Robber the Rich, though, now has found a home in Mono Red and is going to increase in value. And we have Garrett Cursed Huntsman that I think should recover quite well because this is a card that sees a lot of play in the various Golgari decks in Commander. So $4 Mythic, just for that reason, I think will go up. Same thing with Magic Mirror. It's an incredibly popular card in Commander. And we even have decks that use Realm Cloak Giant. We might be in another format coming up where Realm Cloak Giant is, pretty decent as a sideboard option for UI Control, as like a finisher / sideboard. So I can see a meta that does appreciate the Realm Cloak Giant. It is one more mana than Shatter. That's really the problem right now. And again, a lot of decks the 4 mana is a lot more versatile. You can actually hit the shatter off of like Narset, and so Realm Cloak Giant is just suffering from that. But again, UI Control can use this as a board wipe and as a finisher in the future. All right, so let's go on to the Cauldron of Eternity. This is another card that does see play from time to time. Allies Merriment, same thing. I've seen decks with it. Only the bulk mythic, which is quite awkward, is the Harmonious Archon. We even look over to uncommons. Uncommons have some really decent ones in the form of Mystical Dispute, which is one of the most played cards in Magic the Gathering. If you go to Legacy, Modern, Pioneer, and Standard, it actually might be the most played card currently in the entire Magic the Gathering. And the price reflects that. It's one of the reasons, too, if you can find the Throne of elDRAINe blue theme decks, you should probably pick it up just because it's almost guaranteed to have a Mystical Dispute in it. Sometimes you can have two of them. Drown of the Loch is another uncommon that has been increasing in play, like in Dimir Inverter. Cauldron Familiar has plenty of decks built around it. All That Glitters is seeing a massive amount of play in multiple formats. Same thing, Witch's Oven. And we have Deafening Silence, too, which is a very, very potent card for sideboards in Modern, Pioneer. And I could even see it seeing play in Standard. Claim the Firstborn, a lot of good ones here, like Order of the Midnight. These are just suffering from how much Throne of elDRAINe has been open. But all of these, I think, are going to be uncommons. They're going to be worth like a buck when the dust settles, years down the road. Pioneer looks to be the real deal, and I think that now is the time to really be picking up Throne of elDRAINe. So the price increase has been increasing here. This is a steal of a deal at 77. I highly encourage you, if you are in the market for Throne of elDRAINe, to check out my Patreon and get on the list. These have been limited per week of how many boxes I can get at that price, but we can still get booster boxes, any booster boxes in Standard for 84, which is still a pretty good value. If you check out Dawnglare, I believe the TC market price is $92 for Throne of elDRAINe, meaning if you opened up a booster box of Throne of elDRAINe, you have an expected value of 92, and then when you switch it to mid, you're in the, I believe it was 100, or 98, it was 99 last time I checked for the Throne of elDRAINe, for how much a booster box would be worth at TC Market if you were to open it and piece it out. So anyway, that's pretty decent EV. It's very, very hard for an in-stock standard set to even crack anything like the 70s. Like, 70s are considered good sets. So when you're up into 100, and I believe even Core 2020 is even higher than that, it's like into 102 with the market price, 110 for mid price. So Core 2020 is an evaluation I'll do for another day. I think I've done it on this channel already, but we'll revisit it again. So I know this is kind of a long video for the just the market outlook and my breakdown of Throne of elDRAINe. I still do want to talk about the topic that we talked about in this video, touched on just a little bit, which is we are definitely entering into supply hell. There, like I said, is no end in sight for Theros Collector's Edition, and it seems like even mystery booster boxes are going to have more supply than first anticipated, and also unsanctioned is print to demand. So be careful out there. Tons of layers coming out. Hopefully mystery booster boxes aren't Chronicles 2.0, but it's looking scary. They still need to announce a summer set, so we're in for like a Battle Bond or a conspiracy type set. They're going to definitely be announcing. Looks like another spell book is on the way. Challenger decks contents. There's a lot of reprints coming out in the foreseeable future. Same thing, Commander from Ikoria. Those are going to be coming out. So lots of supply. I think Wizards really either needs to focus on like taking a breather and letting things stabilize. They can't be, like, distributors can't be losing money on all of these sets, which they're doing right now. Take a breather on the reprints or on the supply, or they need to actively be trying to recruit people into the Magic the Gathering scene. And that right there is a whole can of worms topic, because man, the demographic that they were salivating over, that they were trying to encourage to play Magic the Gathering, is now revolting on them. That's what happens. They end up eating any community where you try to appease the frothers are eventually going to eat their own, and they're going to, they're toxic. They're gonna poison the well, and I think that's what we've seen with the late 2019, which the entire Mythic Championship turned into such a disaster for viewership and just the sentiment that now there's rumors that Magic the Gathering is going to start taking away people's prize money if they're negative, or if they do their dumb little threats that they've been doing on Twitter, like the Twitter spats. They're going to actually take away that money that they are giving them. Anyway, again, that's a topic I don't want to go down to. We want to focus more on the market here for the Rogue Market channel. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. This is Kevin with the Rogue Market. Thanks for watching.